fear has its hands on the wheel, even if it's subtle, right? There is selfish, self-serving, and then selfless. I talk about this at work, right? With every decision, we should always strive to be selfless, right? That's very clear cut.
Yeah.
Self-serving can give the appearance that we're actually helping someone, but we're really helping ourselves. And then selfish is apparent. The one in the middle is slippery. And the thing is this, if my real estate career and TV career and, all the other stuff I do goes up in smoke, I will bounce out of bed the next day and go, right, what's next?
Yeah.
Because Mother Universe, I trust. She's a beautiful thing. And life is too precious, man. I'm going to drink it till I get drunk every day.
What's up, guys and gals? I've got an awesome guest with me today, and you guys are going to get a chance to meet him here in a second. And when I originally heard of Peter, and many of you guys have already heard of Peter, I started really digging into his background, his videos. Dude, just recently I saw you were one of the Bomb video influencers, which is really neat. But y'all, you guys are in for a treat because there's a couple of reasons why I want to make sure to bring Peter Lorimer on the Carrot Cast today. Number one, I always love digging into people's backstory. He's got a really interesting backstory. So it's gonna be a lot of fun kind of pulling that apart. Number two, he's diving into video, and I'm big on video. And a lot of agents, investors are a little bit behind that curve, and I'd like to talk about how Peter's had a lot of success with it. But number three, guys, I think there's a really, really big lesson here in how you can brand and how you can really go out there and carve out a niche for yourself and have insane success there and have fun along the way. So I want to introduce you guys officially to Peter Lorimer. Thanks for coming on the Carrot Cast.
There you go. What an intro. Thank you very, very much, Trevor. Thank you for having me on. It is an absolute delight. I am a fan of the show. So nice work, sir.
Well, dude, I appreciate it. So before we dive in, let's give people a little bit of context. Who are you? What do you do now for your work? Where do you live? Any family?
Sure.
You married, things like that?
Sure. So I'm based in Los Angeles. I've been in LA since 1993, married with 3 kids. I own a brokerage in Los Angeles called PLG Estates, which is a very creative centric brokerage. And that was born from me being a music business guy for 16 years of my life. Originally from the UK, which you can probably tell by my accent, and was a pretty well-known house music producer, which is ooch, 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 for the guys out there that don't know what house music is. Back all the way through the 90s into the very early 2000s. In a nutshell, that's it. Dude. Oh, and a Netflix show. I've got a Netflix show.
Yeah, and a Netflix show. and we'll dive into the Netflix show a bit. It's called Stay Here. Dude, it's a really good show. It's way cool.
Thanks.
It's way cool. We started picking up some Airbnbs personally. We picked up our first one in 2012, and I want to dive into that part a little bit. It's pretty interesting stuff. I want to talk to the music side because I know that this is something I'm passionate about. Is having businesses. They don't have to be your passion, but they should for sure fuel your passion. If you're lucky enough to have a business that is your passion as well, amazing, right? But I think everyone should have a business that fuels their passion. Dude, how did you get into music in the first place, and kind of what's the story? Because I think that's interesting.
I'll try and make it brief. So I came from a city called Leeds, which is, I guess, kind of the equivalent of like a Philadelphia or a Pittsburgh or an industrial, working class town, Detroit maybe. And running away is a very big part of my story. I'm always trying to run away from wherever I am. And so the environment that I grew up in, I was either going to get into trouble or I was going to get into something else. And I started going down the route of trouble. And then, funny enough, my older brother and my father, my dad played saxophone, my brother played trumpet. And I was like, well, that looks pretty cool. So I took up at this crappy school I was at. They only had an old rotten trombone. So I took up the trombone, of all things. Completely immersed myself in it. And within 2 years was recognized by the Royal College of Music as being an exceptional classical student in Britain. and they gave me, I was accepted into the college at 13, which was really young.
Wow.
And then they had me touring and playing with much older musicians. And in the UK, certainly back then, you didn't need to show ID. If you look 18, which is the drinking age in the UK, you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 6 foot at 13 years old. And I was hanging around with all these 17 through 23-year-olds. So they just presumed I was the same age. And then that is where I discovered the muse of my life, which is house music.
Yep.
I heard Jackie Body by Steve Silt Hurley on the dance floor, and I'm like, what is that? I was like, you know what? Fuck the trombone. I want to go do that. And so I dropped out of high school at 15, packed my bag, kissed my mother goodbye, and went off to London, trombone under one arm, bag under the other, not knowing a soul. I mean, my parents didn't want me to go, but they could see I was headstrong. And I marched off to London to instantly become a success, which of course I wasn't.
Yep.
I ended up working in, crappy clothes stores, pretending I was 16 years old, selling cheap suits to these shady characters to make ends meet. But my love of house music was all consuming. So I got myself into the London club scene. Mm-hmm. This is late 80s.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize at the time, but I was there for the birth of it. And I happened to be in this club where everybody went. I ran into some folks, and I managed to, one of the guys doing the lights, a guy by the name of Mark Moore, said, "Here, Peter, you play piano, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I play piano." He says, "You know computers, right?" And I didn't. And I said, "Yeah, I know computers." He goes, "Great, you're in the band." And that band had top 40 #1. And my music career was off and running by the ripe old age of 17. And I discovered that I really liked pulling the levers more than actually being in the band.
Gotcha.
So I branched out into being a record producer and a remixer, which was kind of at the birth of remixing, and I go all the way back to people, to David Bowie, to George Michael, to In Excess, which I had lots of hits with. And then I had 25 #1s approximately in the UK dance charts. Then I moved to LA in 93, positioning myself for the American dance explosion, which didn't happen until 2000. But I still had another 30 #1s in the club charts in the US, ending with people like Seal and Christina Aguilera and all of that. And then I'm like, I've always been very, very nerdy. And people say I can look around corners. It isn't so much that I look around corners. I just crunch data and I eat it and I consume it on a daily basis so that I can kind of predict where things are going to go.
Okay.
And I knew that the music industry was about to go through a massive shift. So I got out on top. I had a #1 in 12 countries.
Wow.
Simultaneously. And I'm like, I'm out. I'll retire, fellas. I'm done. And I took my winnings, which was considerable at that point for a young guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, what do I do now? And it was just pure luck. Well, luck mixed with intuition. My mum, bless her heart, she died last year, but she was living in England. My brother moved to Australia 30 years ago.
Wow.
And my brother's house was 4 times the price of LA. My mother's house was twice the price of LA. And I kind of put 2 and 2 together. And I'm like, with this whole newfangled intrawebs and Google stuff, LA is only going to get more and more densely populated, meaning property prices are going to go up, I think. So I started investing in property in LA, in areas that were not great, but I nailed it. And I got in. My first purchase was 2001. I dumped a lot of it in 2007 because I felt the market was going to crash, and it did. And then I held on to it, and then I bought heavily into Google and Apple and Netflix. And
dude, you're timing everything right. I love
it. It's a moment in time. If you're a nerdy guy, the 2000s to 2010, if you were a nerd and you kept your eye on the ball, like Facebook for me was a no-brainer. And, it was like, I had literally a burning bush experience when I saw Google. I remember typing in my first question in Google and going, how can it know the answer? So the moment it became available to buy, I loaded up.
Dude, so I'm going to ask you a question and kind of put you on the spot, and don't answer it if you don't want to answer it. But we're of course at you know what 10 years into this kind of real estate bull market, as some people call it. And I've been through, you know, a couple upturns and downturns as well. And I've got my own philosophy on what's going to happen next. But what are you positioning for over the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
So I'll answer any question you ask me because I'm on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, feel free to fire away. You'll never get no comment from me.
Cool.
So I feel that we've all been kind of holding our breath, waiting for the interest rates to go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our head has been on the chopping block for, it feels like about 5 years now.
Yep.
And then every year we get a reprieve, and then we get another reprieve, and the market continues to go and go and go. And I remember around this time last year, if I remember correctly, the Fed announced in around September they were going to put up interest rates 4 times in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And the market in LA went and just stopped.
Hmm.
And then first quarter, it was a little, you know, people were waiting to see. And then the Fed announced that they were not going to put rates up at all this year. Hmm. And then the whole thing with China was looking like rates were going to go up. And then Trump announced he's not going to come to any decision till after the election. So rates are held down again. So in the next 12 months, I think it is going to be the roaring 20s. I think it's going to be another in LA. I don't know about the rest of the country, but in LA, I think it's going to be roaring because rates are so low.
Yep.
I think in 21, I mean, it depends on the world economy, but ultimately rates have to go back up at some point.
Yep.
And I think the brakes are going to begin to come on the market in 21. And then in 22, I think we're going to see it swing back to probably buyer-centric, just. And we're at the mercy of the government. If the government let the air out of the balloon slowly, we won't crash.
Yep.
But there has to be an ebb and flow, and there has to be a correction. My prediction for Los Angeles is I doubt that we will see more than a 5% change.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, there's so much demand there. Housing is still decently, not overpriced, but the affordability index in most parts of the country is just not greatly affordable. So yeah, it's wild. Dude, so you made the transition to real estate. You moved there. You saw the market starting to adjust, and you're like, man, I think this is going to be a great opportunity. And then you were with Keller Williams for 9 years. You were mentioning
5 years.
5 years. I'm sorry. And then you went off on your own. So what were you doing those first few years? So did you leverage those relationships that you had in your past life on the music side of things, or did you kind of start fresh?
So, great question. So it's like, you know, I was lucky enough to work with a bunch of celebrities, right? And a bunch of, you know, recording engineers and producers and what have you.
Yep.
And I thought, well, it's just going to be easy. I'm just going to call them all up and, you know, they're all going to want to work with me because they did in music. And it was brutal. I remember the reason I became a real estate agent was really happenstance. And I was dating this girl who was just toxic, right? She was just bad news. And she had a very successful kind of antiques business, which she folded in LA and became a real estate agent. And she did pretty well in her first year. And I'm like, she's toxic, dude. So if she can do it, I can do it. And so when I had that number one in 12 countries, I knew that was the moment. And I have a history of once I make the decision, I never look back. I burn my boat at the shore, as Napoleon Hill would say. And I literally had made the decision to go into real estate. I was in the process of getting my license. I had that number one. And then I shuffled into the back of Keller Williams and I didn't tell a soul what I used to do. And I just sat and I listened. And I was not married at that point, but nearly married. And I was like, this is it, man. It's sink or swim. And fortunately, for my brothers and sisters who might be in real estate now that have come out of the entertainment industry, those of us who've worked in entertainment professionally know the hours are grueling. And the chance of success is probably 10%, if that. Oh, yeah. I worked on albums for 6 months that never came out. And so I came into the real estate industry with that work ethic of getting to the office at 10 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning. And I wouldn't finish until 7 or 8 or 9 at night. And I just did that rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And people were like, Pete, you're a monster. How come you get so many deals? Because I put in 3 times the hours of most of the other people in the office.
Mm-hmm.
I did prospect my database. I'm a very, very big believer in advocates. I'm a huge proponent of using your sphere, your A, your B, your C, and your D. And this is back then, so the internet was new, email was new. So I was calling everyone and their mother, saying, hey, it's Pete Lorimer, from Peter Lorimer Group Estates, which was just me and my multiple personalities. I'm head of the entertainment division over at Keller Williams and blah, 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 blah. And it was click, 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 click. Mm-hmm. And I just was relentless. I sat any open house. I would sit a freaking tool shed on the freeway if it was available. My first listing was in a different county, and it was in the projects. Mm-hmm. My first sale was in the hood, and everybody told me I was crazy to work on both. But I was just relentless. I just didn't stop, and I kept my head completely out of expectations and only in action, which is my mantra.
Dude, I've got a question for you. So in that phase of life, were you, hey, I'm going to work this until it works, or are you know what, I'm going to give this a full try for a year, or a full try for 2 years. And if it doesn't work, then I'm going to shift. Were you this is going to work no matter what, or I'm going to give it this time period and just hit it hard?
So I'm not a cocky guy. Those people that know me, they know I'm not a cocky guy. I'm just a regular Joe, right? But I remember sitting in front of my office manager, Lisa. God bless you, Lisa, if you're listening to this. And I said to her, it sounds really cocky, but it was just confidence, not cockiness. Yeah. I said, Lisa, you're looking at your new #1 agent.
I love it.
Without a deal.
Yeah.
Failure was not an option. I had the same feeling about real estate as I did when I spent my entire paycheck as an assistant engineer on a new synthesizer. Mm-hmm. Every penny I had, because I had unshakable self-belief.
Yep.
And it was the same with real estate. Now, unshakable self-belief mixed with low self-esteem is a really strange combination, which is what I have. But I do believe, I back my own horse, and I always have. Mm-hmm. So Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, was very instrumental in my real estate career, because I did indeed burn my boat at the shore. And I did have a white hot lava of obsession over the industry. Mm-hmm. And it worked.
Dude, I want to unpack some of that here in a little bit in the podcast, because I know especially newer agents or newer investors, we have a lot of real estate investors that are going to be tuning in, a lot of real estate agents. If you're getting going on the new side, they're going to hit that point very early on where they're probably going to get discouraged, where they're making those phone calls or talking with people and not winning those listings, or making the offers, not winning the deals. So I want to unpack a little bit of that here later. But so you started to push on, you got your first deals. How did you then go into really diving deep in the niche? You mentioned earlier, hey, I'm picking up the phone saying I'm Peter Lorimer with the entertainment division of Keller Williams, which was probably just you at that point.
It was me in the closet.
Yeah. So how at that point did you go, you know what, this is the niche, it's just going to be mine, and you're going to start to really tackle it?
So I think this is fundamentally, and this is one of the kind of the cornerstones of my brokerage PLG, which is I joined Keller Williams, and it could be Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Prudential at the time. It could be one of anything. Everything I was taught was extremely well-intentioned.
Okay.
It just didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. And I was taught, you need to go door knocking, and you need to cold call, and you need to pick a geographic area and send postcards and newsletters. And I was like, and I remember putting my hand up in class going, is that what everyone does? And they go, yep, that's what everybody does when they're new. Mm-hmm. And I said, so if everybody's doing it, well, how am I possibly going to get business from that? And she looked at me like, oh, that's just what everybody does. Mm-hmm. So I tried it. I tried door knocking, and I actually went door knocking once, and I did get a listing 7 years later, because I stayed in touch with her. And I hated it. People were scared of me. I'm a big, tall guy, and I was knocking on their door, and they're like, oh my God, who is this gorilla at my door?
Yep.
And I was told that I should wear professional attire, which again, well-intentioned advice. but I'm a studio rat in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So I even put on a bloody suit, which there is nothing wrong with suits. But you might as well put a prisoner suit on me because it didn't jive.
Yep.
And I was getting to the point maybe 6 months to a year in where I had tried it everybody else's way and I was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home to I think we were married at the time, came home to my wife. We were married. And I said, Cindy, I'm over it. I hate it. I can't do it. I don't want a door knock. I don't want a cold call. This is miserable. I'd rather drive a bus. Unless I can do it my way, I'm going to drive a bus.
Yep.
And so she said, so do it your way. And I'm like, oh.
Good advice.
So the next day I went in my Metallica t-shirt, my shorts, my sneakers, started hammering the phone, felt authentic.
Yep.
Started talking music and not scripts. I do not believe in scripts. And I addressed people as people and not as prospects. Ding, 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 ding. Deal after deal after deal after deal.
Yep.
And that was I wrote in my book before I even got my license that I wanted to start my own brokerage because I'm a builder of things. But that was kind of like the light bulb moment of, everybody's doing it this way. Very few are doing it this way. I'm going to create a brokerage for the few to go after the creatives in LA, which there are lots of.
Yep.
And if we fail, this is another mantra, I would rather fail under my own volition than fail by mediocrity.
Man, go for it. Sorry.
I'd rather be dead wrong very fast than kind of playing in the middle. Because that's a slow death.
Dude, I so love that. And when I talk with a lot of real estate agents, investors, or even just entrepreneurs doing whatever business they're doing, one of the things that makes me pull back and go, man, I so wish I can help them get out of this is when people are running a business trying to do a playbook that's not theirs, right? A playbook that isn't, like you said, authentic to them, a playbook that they can't go all in on, that gives them energy. And I really started to, this is probably 5 years ago, I started to run my own businesses based off of energy. I'm going, man, I'm going to write non-negotiables and my business has to match these 5 things. If it doesn't match these 5 things, I'm going to change the business, get rid of the business, whatever. But I'm going to be running my business in my life on energy now moving forward, not on what other people think I should be doing, but on what gives me energy and how can I stand out. And it sounds like you're similar, man, where you dove in and said, man, this resonates with me. It probably gave you more energy than trying to copy someone's script and do the thing.
Yeah.
And it worked and it shows through. It's authentic. It shows through in a big way.
It does. And I felt that there was a real opportunity. And the moment I saw social media, when it switched from MySpace to Facebook, I remember running into Lisa's office, my old manager, frothing at the mouth and saying, this is it. This is the future of everything. We need to call Gary Keller and tell him to stop spending money on papers. Don't make any more paper adverts. And she looked at me like, oh God, here goes Pete again with one of his harebrained schemes. So I'm a very binary guy. I'm all in or I'm all out.
Yep.
So when I saw social media, I'm like, okay, opportunity. This is new. Nobody's owning it. I'm going to own it.
Yep.
So I made a point of being all over social media and doing the blend of family, personal, professional, and success before you could have a business account on Facebook.
Yep.
And dude, it worked. It worked like a treat. And then the evolution of that was, it was video in 2015. It was video. And I knew I had that same burning desire that shit, this is the last frontier and nobody's doing it. And so I leapt with no net. And that's what grew my company. I've not recruited anyone. I have 200 agents through attraction, not promotion.
Dude, I want to break that apart now because I know over 90% of your leads come from social. You, like I said early on in this podcast, I just saw recently, like the last month or so, you're a bomb video influencer and you have the Netflix side of things. Now I want to pull back and piece it all together to go, what does your average, I'm not asking this question now, but I'm going to kind of piece some things together. I want to find out, what does your average day or week look like and how you go out there and market or just engage in your audience. I want to know, like you said, kind of what type of content are you doing? What's that breakdown? Do you have a formula where like, man, X percent or about this is going to be personal and family and this is going to be blah, or is it just on the go? So we'll start there is what right now does your current breakdown look like of where you're doing content? And then the next question is, do you have any percentage where it's like, we're trying to do 33% family and 33% blah, or is it just off the cuff?
It is great question. And if there are agents out there that want a real loosey-goosey benchmark, a third, I think is a good rule, which is a third about you personally, puppies and lattes. A third is about your industry, which could be interior design, paint colors, et cetera, landscaping. And then a third should be you in your industry, sitting open houses, attending an inspection, So that's a real loosey-goosey thing. Yep. So as PLG evolved and as I guess I evolved, I noticed that there were two factions. I noticed that there was the real estate industry that was watching my social. Yep. The real estate agents in Los Angeles, which is obviously essentially a group of people I prospect or attract. Yep. And then there is my personal business, which my wife handles now. She handles my book of business, our book of business. And I noticed that the people who are in my A, B, and pretty much C sphere, A is they're good mates. That's probably your top 100 to 200 people. Your B sphere is probably the 500 behind them. Your C sphere is like the 2,000 behind them. And your D sphere is like the 7,000 people whose names you got and you don't really know who they are. Mm-hmm. So my A, B, and C didn't need to constantly be reminded of me being a real estate agent.
Yep.
So I made a conscious decision to make my main Instagram feed totally agent-centric. And then I did a lot of YouTube is a beast, and I could do a whole podcast on YouTube. YouTube I got wrong, and I'm happy to say why I got it wrong. I got it wrong because I had too many flavors on my page. YouTube responds to it being one niche. I had lots of niches.
Gotcha.
And it didn't get traction, but it did give me the ability. I taught myself how to shoot, how to edit, how to put music and color and all of these things on my movies now. And so I'm a pretty okay filmmaker.
Oh yeah, you are. You're guys. And before we dig in, I want you guys to go follow Peter on Instagram for sure. It's just Peter Lorimer, PeterLorimer. He's got links to a lot of his videos, and there's really, really good stuff in there, guys. And some of those, some of those videos, some of the movies, dude, 3,600 views on the one that you uploaded on December 6th. And it's a Peter Lorimer film on mindset. And that's one thing I do want to dig into towards the end is negativity on the mindset, how you get rid of some of that stuff.
Sure.
Guys, go check it out. Peter Lorimer on Instagram.
And then also, if you want to see the more family-orientated stuff, which there is a very there's a very important reason why I do it. Go to Peter Lorimer Life and Times and Peter Lorimer Life and Times on YouTube.
Sweet.
So I realized that I have my core group, my core sphere, my A, B, and C, who don't want to see me ranting about real estate all the time. So I do these family vlogs and personal vlogs and me going to Austin and me going to wherever, New York and what have you. And then I'll create a 5 to 15 minute vlog.
I like it.
Then I will take that vlog, I will put it on my Facebook page. I will take my entire sphere, my A, B, and C as a custom audience, and I will push it to them because I want to make damn sure they're seeing it.
Yep. I like it.
So when I see them, my core group, my core clients, every one of them says, "Oh, dude, I saw the video when you were in the Maldives for your birthday. Awesome." And it just warms me. It reminds them of me. And when they see me, there's no breaking the ice anymore.
Dude, I like that so much. I want people to write that down because that's a question struggle I've had sometimes over the years. And also I know a lot of our customers do too, where they're like, well, I don't want to post too much personal stuff over here and whatever it is. I love how you've done that. So you've got them. I'm on your site right now. And
I only just did it like maybe 4 months ago. I just started a personal Instagram account.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have that many followers, but the interaction I'm getting is great. And I know that's going to be my core group of buyers and sellers.
I love it. And you probably get energy from putting that stuff out too. You know, it's fun stuff. It's interesting stuff. And I'm just going to kind of read off some of these to give people ideas. You've got Family Friday. So with that, were you doing one of those every Friday for a while? Was it kind of like whenever it pops up? Yeah. Life and Times, Remembering Our Fathers. The Great Lorimer Vacation, the Maldives, part 1. I love this stuff. Oliver Graduates Karate. That's awesome. Like, you're celebrating your son. And one cool thing too is this is almost going to be like a little memory capsule, time capsule for your family.
100%. And that's a driving force. I mean, there are many driving forces. I'm a creative, so I've got to create. Otherwise, my head explodes. My children will have wonderful videos when I'm gone. Hopefully, they'll watch them.
Yep.
And then it's also utterly unique to me. It's non-generic by definition. Yep. If it's videos about me and my family and my kids, that people can tell I've taken care over. The Best Day of My Life. If you want to watch a good one, you should watch that one, folks. The Best Day of My Life, it's called. And people feel my sincerity and my authenticity and my love towards the product. And it just helps galvanize me as being such a nice guy, you know, with my clients.
Dude.
Oh, and video, ladies and gentlemen. This is another reason I do it. It's evergreen.
Yep.
Postcards are one and done.
Yep.
Video's evergreen. You create a library, you can keep going back and changing it to other stuff forever.
Dude, I want to dig into that. I started diving in and creating a presentation about 6 or 8 months ago, and I've been on this kick a lot. Is at Carrot, for all the listeners, of course, you guys are probably familiar, but at Carrot, we really focus on inbound. We focus on content. We focus on building authority online. And when you do write a course, it makes all of your offline marketing work better, because offline drives people online. Whether you have a darn URL on there or not, they're going to Google your name. They're going to Google your phone numbers. And we talk about hamster wheel marketing versus evergreen marketing. And it's almost like I picture a stack of bricks over here. You know, it's just a stack of bricks. So I've got this vision for creating something that's evergreen, that's going to be there a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, that's going to build momentum. And so I take a brick, I've got a hamster wheel over here. I'm like, I need to get deals right now. I need to get business coming in. This stuff's going to take a little bit of time to build momentum. So I'm going to hop on the hamster wheel, which is, calling and dialing and doing all that kind of stuff. That the second you jump off the hamster wheel, it starts to grind to a halt, and then you got to get back on it. But eventually that'll grind you to the ground. That's like, that's not why most agents or investors become that. So hop on the hamster wheel, get some income coming in, make it happen. Come over here, grab a brick. You stack it, you slap some mortar on it, grab another brick, stack it, grab another brick, stack it, hop back on the hamster wheel, get some stuff going. And eventually you're going to have like a row of bricks, like one row, and your hands are going to be dirty, and it was heavy. The bricks are heavy. It's not easy work. And you're going to look at it and go, damn, I've put all this work into this. I'm not really getting the result yet. But over here, if I hop on it and do this thing, a bunch of social posting or direct mail or whatever it is, it works, but I got to keep doing it. And where most people stop is that they stop at the one row of bricks and go, man, I put a lot of work into it, I'm not getting the results. So they stop and keep doing this, which is never going to give them freedom. Yeah. And what I want people to do instead is keep jumping over here, get some things going on the hamster wheel marketing, but then go back and keep stacking bricks. And for us, bricks are pieces of content. It's a video. It's a blog post that ranks really well for something of value to your market. It's something that's going to be there forever, as long as you have that YouTube channel or the website. And eventually you have an entire wall, and you pull back and go, man, I've got a wall now. This thing bounces everything back for me. You have full momentum. And then the hamster wheel stuff, it's just there when you need it, or if you like to do it, or if it gives you energy. So at what point for you, Peter, as you're starting to dive in and create video and start to leverage things, when did you start to see momentum for your own business? Was it immediate because it was just getting shared up and people were hitting it, or did it take some time for you?
So I think there is, I wish, and maybe there will come a day, but I wish I could just do sexy content and the phone would ring.
Yep.
In my case, it doesn't really work like that. So what my kind of elixir of success, if you will, is create either very entertaining content or very informational content or infotainment.
Yep.
Right. And then what I do is my core group of people, I have them as a custom audience and I push that content to them. So I know that they're going to see it. But then the key component to this is you still got to do good old-fashioned prospecting.
Yep.
Now, I only prospect my sphere. I will not do strangers. I just won't. And what happens is when I'm reaching out through DMs or Instagram Messenger or Facebook Messenger, whichever platform I'm on, I'm reaching out to people and I don't get responses from everyone because I've got 25,000 people in my database. But the ones that I reach out to who do respond all say this: "Oh, dude, we were just talking about you the other day. We saw that video when you did the trapeze with one of your agents."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it. That's my post. This is my postcard.
Yep.
And what it does is it warms your A, B, and C sphere up to remind them of who you are if they've forgotten. And then they already like you. If you're a likable person, they already like you. But you got to go all in. I remember having 50 followers on YouTube after 50 videos. And I'm like, what is the point? And then that voice in my head that I always trust was like, dude, this is the answer. Just keep going.
Yep.
Don't look, keep your head out the results and keep your ass in action, which is what I did. And that's how Netflix found me. They found me on YouTube.
And guys, I mean, that's a perfect example, y'all. They're listening to this. Peter is jamming on stuff that I call hamster wheel marketing, but it works. You got to keep doing it, right? You got to keep doing it. But he was stacking bricks behind the scenes.
Yep.
And as he's stacking bricks, then eventually built up some really, really amazing momentum. Peter, so you talked about Facebook and custom audiences there a bit. And I love this strategy. Honestly, I hadn't heard anyone talk about this particular strategy before in this way. And I want to break it apart so we can kind of elevate it.
Sure.
And so people see it. Is you're taking your A, B, and C markets, your warm markets, essentially, pulling them out of your database, making them a nice, tidy little custom audience. And then you're serving them up the kind of the edge, the entertaining, the family, that type of content, and a little bit of infotainment maybe, which
Correct.
I love because a lot of people think it's only got to be educational. Well, I'm going to answer the questions that my buyers or sellers in this niche want to hear. That's great stuff. Like we do the heck out of that. We guide people toward it. But the entertaining and just like building personal relationship part with it, I hadn't heard of people delivering just that type of content to their warm niche. When you're doing that, do you set some sort of a certain type of budget that works for you where like, hey, I just know I'm just going to put $5 a day into this, or is it not that complicated yourself?
It's not that complicated. Yeah. It's not that complicated. So when it comes to creating content, I do want to dig into this a little bit because I think this is crucial. People don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. And so when I've created content, I try and make people feel good, or they laugh, or they're like, ooh, that's cool. I don't sit there and try to break apart, what exactly contingencies are. I do that for the real estate community, not for my prospects in buying and selling. So the other thing where I think a lot of marketing goes wrong here, Trevor, is the hero of the story is not us. The hero of the story is always the client. And so when people are creating content or marketing, they want to plaster all over it. #1 real estate team in Philadelphia. #2 real estate team in the nation. When you confuse, you lose. Less is more. Steve Jobs, think different. Launched an armada. 2 words. Real estate isn't about how fabulous we are. It's about connecting with the clients in a way that is for them, not for us. Right?
I love it.
And that can be, it can be educational, or it can be, the trick is this. This is the entire podcast in a nutshell. Give all the shit you know away for free and don't expect anything for it. That's it. Period. Give it to anyone who'll listen and then shake their hand and walk away. Don't be handing cards out and saying, I had a conversation with an agent yesterday who was talking about doing branding of robes and flatware and silver and plates and stuff for a house they just sold. And I'm like, no, that's creepy. I'm like, you're making it about you. You got to make it about them.
I gotcha.
Go to Tiffany's and buy a beautiful set of plates from Tiffany's and give them to them, or if Tiffany's make plates, and give them to them and say, these are the best things I could find because I care about you. See you later.
Dude, I love it. Man, I heard a really, really good gift idea where, and you may have heard of this guy, I'm not sure, but where he was a big Cutco salesman. And so he's like all into Cutco knives and stuff. But he has a business now that helps people give amazing gifts. And when he pulled back and talked about what are the best gifts, it's the personalized gifts. Like you said, it's not about the person giving the gift and putting my logo on it or my name. It's like, hey, here's for you. And so what he'll do sometimes is he'll take an amazing set of Cutco knives or a set of amazing plates or something like that. And then he'll have his team do some research, or he'll do research about that person. What do they care about? What are their hobbies? Do they have a favorite author? Whatever it is, there's just find some amazing personal things about them. And then they'll inscribe those personal things so they're a family keepsake on that. It could be quotes that are coming from their favorite book or from a person that they really aspire to be. And every one of the knives has like a little quote from this person or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's such a great thing, man. And I want people to make that mindset shift. I love it, dude. Don't make the gift about getting your logo in their house only. Make it about them. They're going to want to use it and have that family keepsake or something like that.
Correct. The client is always the hero in the story.
Yep.
We are just, the sidekick.
Dude, I've got a couple questions on niche now, then, and I want to bounce for a few minutes onto the Netflix series and also how people can follow you. But one of the things that you talked about is making sure that you're giving everything that you know to those people for free. You're adding value. And one of the things that a lot of people kind of fall into the trap for, and I did it early on too, was you're going, man, well, who the heck am I talking to? My market's all of LA. I want to serve everybody. So then you don't know who to talk to, don't know what to say. And that's the importance of niching down. When you're working with your agents, do you have any who are struggling with wrapping their heads around niching down in some sort of way? Or do you just like basically say, hey, you're coming into the entertainment industry and everyone in your brokerage is entertainment?
Not everybody in the brokerage is entertainment at all. But what I do as a broker, which I really enjoy being, I have to say, I guess that's the old record producer in me, I like sitting behind the console and pulling the levers. Everyone has a UVP. Everybody has a unique value proposition, right? We just don't necessarily know what that is. So I would kind of ask your listeners and your viewers, what is your unique value proposition, right? What makes you unique so that a client will work with you over another agent? Many of your folks probably can't answer that off the cuff. You got to be able to answer it. You got to know what your unique value proposition is. Case in point with me is I went hard after the music business. I said, I'm the rock and roll. Well, actually, I didn't give myself the name. My clients gave me the name, the Rock and Roll Realtor. And I went hard after everybody music. And when I was in a crowd of people, they said, the first question was, which area do you specialize in? And I'm like, I specialize in people. I don't specialize in area. I specialize in creatives.
I love that.
Which is not hard to do when I'm standing at a concert surrounded by people who are watching a band play. I'm likely not going to be with a bunch of guys that love golf. Right. And I just self-belief. I was like, I am not wavering. I am not wavering from my brand. Now, would I work with dentists and doctors and accountants? Of course. But if you look at my book of business over the past 15 years, I would probably say that's 1%. The rest of it is all creatives, because the creative said, yeah, this is a guy that specializes in creatives. You need to work with him. Dude. And it was just beautiful.
One thing you said there, which I absolutely loved, it was I specialize in people, because that's where a lot of people will lock into a market area, a location, a type of houses, which there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, pull back one layer and go, why are you specializing in that area? Is it what types of people tend to live in that area? Who are they? What do they like? Who do they hang out with? Where do they go? Do they go to concerts? Is that where they hang out with? Things like that, dude. Guys, ingrain that in your mind. Inscribe Peter Lorimer below it so you always know who said it. I specialize in people. Okay, I love it. I love it.
I mean, the reason for it was, Trevor, like I knew that LA has creatives all the way from downtown to the beach and in the valley, which is the New Jersey of LA. And I'm like, why am I going to cut myself off from all of these folks?
Yep.
So I'm just going to go after creatives. And it worked.
Dude,
and it was
true.
The thing is, it was true. It was authentic.
Guys, I want you to pull back this week. I know when this is going to be publishing, it's going to be after the new year sometimes, but pull back after this episode and really start to think about who are the people that I want to serve best? Who are the people I can be insanely pumped about serving and go deep on and love on and want to hang out with, and write that down and commit to that this year. Because if you're just going to run the same playbook everyone else is playing, like Peter had mentioned, then you're going to likely go after a broad market because that's what everyone's going after, or houses or neighborhoods. But who are the people that live in those areas? What do they love to do? They're likely going to be you, just a lot more of them, and love on them this year. Find a way to go all in on them.
Yeah.
Sure.
And one thing I want to add, Trevor, is this, and we haven't touched upon too much of this today, but this is a real big part of everything that I do. I am chronically optimistic. And it is innate. It is innate. Now, don't get me wrong. I've got my demons. We've all got our demons.
Yep.
But I say this, and I don't wish to sound in any way kind of schmaltzy, but this is my belief structure. I wake up in LA in a beautiful house that I own with the woman I love, with the 3 children I adore. And I'm living in California in the United States of America.
Yep.
I already won. The rest of the day is gravy.
Oh, man.
And I felt that way when I was a new agent. And I keep my head out of results and fear-based expectations, because that's like poison to any career. And I stay utterly in action. Now, when I was a new agent and somebody else got a listing, I was like, God damn it, I should have got that. And you know what? I hope that guy chokes. And now I'm in the mindset of when I go on a listing appointment, and if I get it, I believe that the universe wants me to get it.
Yep.
And I believe if I don't, the guy that got it was meant to get it. And I wish him the best, and I'm on my merry way. My blood pressure is 120/80 at all times.
Yep.
And I live a healthy, beautiful, stress-free life with 200 agents and 4 offices.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Man, the first time, let me take back to 2010 a little bit. The first time that I came across a concept that I'm going to call if this, then that, or if then happiness thinking. I was in Costa Rica. I was at an event that I was going there for a business event, dude. Like, it was a business event, and they changed the name of it to Awesomeness Fest, like after I already purchased my ticket. And then they completely switched it to where it's like, now it's not about business. It's about all this other stuff. I'm like, well, I already paid for the ticket. And like, we'll go check out what Awesomeness Fest is. And it ended up being an amazing event. And there were like all these amazing people there that were, people that you've heard of, and just, it's crazy. And there's only 100 people there. And one of the guys who was there, got like 14 books on the ground right now. So this one here from Sri Kumar Rao, it's called Happiness at Work. Yeah. Sri Kumar Rao, PhD at Stanford. And tons of amazingly successful entrepreneurs have gone through his Stanford course. It's one of the top rated courses in the MBA at Stanford. It's called Happiness at Work. And he talks about that concept of where most people kind of get into a spot where they become unhappy. It's they're basing their happiness on achieving something in the future, on some future thing happening. Okay, I will be happy when this happens. When I hit this income level, then I will be able to be blah. When I meet this person or find the right wife or the right husband, then I will be blah. And ever since then I've started, and I had a chance to sit down with him a lot during that time and had him on the podcast actually, where we talked about the if this then blah thinking. And that's where a lot of people are stuck, and they're forgetting to enjoy the journey. And I'll find myself, kind of losing my way in that too. And I got to pull myself back in. But everyone, if you are in a spot where you're just stressing yourself out and you're comparing yourself against the other agent or the other investor over there, remove yourself from the, if I achieve this, then I will be happy. Because like Peter said,
100%.
You've already hit the lottery, y'all. Like, you're alive. You're in America. If you're listening to, you're probably in America if you're listening to this. And you have way more luxuries than most people ever will have in the world. And, yeah, man, just guys, remove the if this then, or if then this will happen thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, not to kind of beat a dead horse, but like, I'm not getting bombed. I'm not in Aleppo. I'm not like gonna have my, I'm not allowed to drive a car because I'm a woman. I'm in a country
Yep.
that's pretty freaking rad, in a state that's pretty rad.
Yep.
And the other thing is this: fear is if fear has its hands on the wheel, even if it's subtle, right? There is selfish, self-serving, and then selfless. I talk about this at work. Right? With every decision, we should always strive to be selfless, right? That's very clear cut.
Yep.
Self-serving can give the appearance that we're actually helping someone, but we're really helping ourselves. And then selfish is apparent. The one in the middle is slippery. And the thing is this: if my real estate career and TV career and all the other stuff I do goes up in smoke, I will bounce out of bed the next day and go, right, what's next?
Yeah.
Because Mother Universe, I trust. She's a beautiful thing. And life is too precious, man. I'm going to drink it till I get drunk every day.
Oh man, I love it. I love it, guys. Guys, if you're just listening to the audio version of this, go to the YouTube version, go find Carrot on the YouTube side, watch it, because I think you're gonna get a lot more out of it for sure. A couple more questions, man, a little bounce. I want to respect your time. The Netflix show, Stay Here, and you guys are on there talking about preparing Airbnbs and things like that, right? So how did you get into that side of things? Do you still continue to buy investment properties? Are you in the Airbnb side of things, or was that how'd the Netflix idea come around?
So I was doing Airbnbs actually for clients in LA. My old celebrity clients, a lot of them have houses in places like Malibu or the Hollywood Hills, and these are nice places. And we would rent them out. Like, for example, I've got one client that lives in Malibu, and he can rent his home for $75,000 a month. So he takes off, and I would then put it out that, look, I've got a place in Malibu right on the ocean for $75 a month to my record label people, and somebody would move in, like some rock star would move in for 3 months. He's making extra cash, not that he needs it. And then that kind of snowballed into me representing a lot of Airbnbs. This is almost kind of pre-Airbnb.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Netflix found me through as well. They kind of cross-referenced the YouTube stuff with my short-term rental career, which was extensive in LA. And then I do own quite a few investment properties. Now, Airbnb in LA just got squashed.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
Yeah. So unless it's your primary residence, you can't do it. So you can do Airbnb in your primary residence for 120 days a year.
Okay.
And that's it. And then investment properties now need to be 30 days or more.
Wow.
So on the podcast, I'm saying I'm not doing it anymore.
Yep. I love
but,
it.
Yeah, you know
you
what
guys
I mean?
have heard it here. He's not doing Airbnbs, but go watch the Stay Here.
But I'm still doing it on TV.
Yeah, I love it. Guys, seriously, go watch it. It's awesome because they go through the whole process of getting the Airbnb ready, staging it. And I can speak for myself. The way that I use the Airbnb side of things, it's not really as like pure investment. It's going to be a great investment, but I've used it to get like free vacation homes. One at a resort where I grew up, and my parents still live there. It's out of town. We picked one up amazingly cheap in 2012, 112,000, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, fully furnished on the golf course, 1,500 square feet for 112 grand. And so we're starting to, as a probate, we're starting to pick up things like that. We picked up the building next door here downtown, and we're making apartments upstairs. I'm going to Airbnb one of them for team members of ours that fly into town. So I saw.
What city are you in?
Little town called Roseburg, Oregon, Southern Oregon.
Okay, so you're Airbnb friendly then, huh?
Right now we are. Yeah.
Yeah, good, man. I mean, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing there are a lot of cities like, Orlando, Florida, massively favorable for Airbnb. If your investors are looking for spots, be real careful to check out not just what the laws are, but what the laws may become.
Gotcha.
Case in point is one of the ones we did on the show in Seattle, the houseboat. Shortly after we finished the show, maybe 6 months afterwards, they changed the laws. So now those people can't rent that houseboat out, which is actually fine because they were moving to Canada anyway. He got a job in Canada. But just be careful, double and triple check everything.
Yep. I love it. Well, Peter, I know we're at the hour now, man, and I appreciate the heck out of your time. You're a busy guy. You've got an amazing business there. And guys, I want you to go and follow Peter, because not only is he going to be a great example to inspire you on how you can go out there and engage with your audience better and love on them better and really add more value to them, but do it in a way to where it's also fun and unique to you. It doesn't have to be the green screen stuff in the background like I see a lot of agents do. I'm like, guys, get rid of the green screen. Just like be you and be in your environment. I see behind Peter on the video, there's a camera there pointing to his couch with a good background. Just like,
Yeah.
find a good background and just do your stuff or use your cell phone. But Peter, where can people find you, follow you, and engage with you?
So you can find me at Peter Lorimer, PeterLorimer, pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is Peter Lorimer Official. YouTube is Peter Lorimer Official. And if you want to see some of the more family stuff, Peter Lorimer Life and Times.
I love
there
it.
You go.
I love it. And last question for you. What are you looking at for this next year? Like what's something big that you're working on that we can serve you in any way for this next year?
That's a great question. I'm looking at rolling out a pretty substantial expansion plan on PLG in LA. I've been very kind of like, attraction, not promotion, but I think I'm gonna go big. I'm gonna go big. So the support of your people would be awesome. Say how much you like. PLG Estates is the company if you want to follow that social media as well.
Cool. I love it. Well, Peter, man, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Hopefully next time I'm in LA can connect with you and
love to
a coffee or beer or something like that. So guys, please go follow Peter and give this episode a rating and review. Go to Apple Podcasts or whatever the heck they call it now. Apple Podcasts, rating and review. Go do that on Spotify too. And thank you, Peter, for your time, man.
Pleasure.
For the rest of the day.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.